Supreme Court justices appear skeptical of President Trump's authority to impose tariffs on countries across the world. Justices heard arguments yesterday over the president's sweeping levies, and this case could have major economic impacts on consumers and businesses, as well as the scope of presidential power. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman joins us now from our D.C. bureau with more on this. Good morning, Katrina. People were able to listen in to these arguments. It was fascinating to hear how the justices perceived each side. Give us a brief of the arguments made.
Good morning, Errol. Yes, these were very interesting arguments, very long, too. They lasted about 2.5 hours. The judges asked a lot of probing questions, Errol. And a central question was, are the tariffs that have been put in place by Trump a type of tax, or are they something else? And the reason this is important, Errol, is that taxation is a power that was given to Congress in the Constitution. That's something that the challengers are arguing, that these tariffs are taxes, they say. This is a congressional power, and that Congress has only ever delegated tariff powers explicitly and always with real limits, they say. Now, on the Trump administration side, Solicitor General John Sauer argued that the tariffs are not taxes. He said these are regulatory tools that are directed at foreign affairs. This is an area, Errol, where the president has broad authority. And in fact, he says these are regulatory tariffs, not revenue-raising tariffs. And the fact that they raise revenue, he said, is only incidental. In fact, Errol, he said the tariffs would be most effective if no one ever paid them. But let's take a listen to some of what the justices had to say.
I just don't understand this argument. It's not an article. It's a congressional power, not a presidential power to tax. And you want to say tariffs are not taxes, but that's exactly what they are.
Yes, of course, tariffs in dealings with foreign powers, but the vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress.
I want to explain to me how you draw the line. What would prohibit Congress from just abdicating all responsibility to regulate foreign commerce, for that matter, declare war, to the president?
And Errol, that was another central concern of the justices during these arguments, is the balance of power between Congress and the presidency. What would it mean to give over this power to tariff to the president when it's not explicitly written into the law that Trump is using?
That's right, Katrina. The case really seems to center on President Trump's use of emergency powers. The question, did he go too far? Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat, was at the Supreme Court and spoke with our Major Garrett on the takeout yesterday. Let's just quickly show that to our viewers.
It really hits home for people. It's an abuse of the power that hits them in their pocketbooks, whether it's the cost of beef or the cost of bananas or the cost of coffee or lumber to build homes. All of this is at stake.
And so, Katrina, if they rule against the president, this could have lasting effects when it comes to executive power.
Absolutely, Errol. This case in many ways is about presidential power. Something that Chief Justice Roberts said is that to have the president's foreign affairs power trump that basic power of Congress for taxation seems to kind of neutralize the two powers here. And it's also important to note that this is the first case that's reached the Supreme Court on the merits about a key policy of Trump's administration. They've made a lot of rulings so far, but those have all been on an emergency basis, temporary. So this also may be a window into the limits that this Supreme Court is willing to put on President Trump's presidential power and how they might rule in other cases that are on the docket, Errol.
All right, Katrina Kaufman from Washington with the latest on this important case. Katrina, thanks.